Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
On this Valentine's Day, let me tell you all the reasons why I love tonight's venue. It's been continuously updated since it was opened in 1955, but it's still got that old school vibe. And like any good relationship, it has its ups and downs. This place, it's got elevation changes for days. You can say that it's nothing but a bunch of straights tied together but 90-degree turns, but man, are those turns tricky. It tests your relationship with the car every step of the way, and boy, is it fast. Welcome everybody to the National Park of Speed and one of my loves, Road America, and the Ray Esports Racing League's winter season. Brought to you by Grassroots Motorsports Magazine, Spec Racer Sports, Common Gear, and Grass Paddock Motorsports here on Apex Racing TV. I'm Greg Ginsburg, and returning to the announce booth this week is Tim Cox with Jonathan Grabowski in the virtual production trailer. And for those of you joining us for the first or maybe the second or third or 20th time, we've got 9 weeks of action across 4 different classes. This is the 3rd week right here. We've got Spec Racer Ford, we've got Spec Miata, and new for this season, 2 touring car classes, and they're on track right now, taking their qualifying here. We've got the Volkswagen TDI Cup cars, otherwise known as T4, and we've got the brand new to the iRacing platform Toyota GR86 Cup cars. Sometimes we'll refer to them as T3 if I lose my balance here. Each of our 4 classes, they're going to race 6 times over the course of this 9-week season. And so on tap tonight, we've got 2 20-minute sprint races, as we always do here in the Ray Esports Racing League. First up are going to be the touring cars, and back for their second go-around after a very hectic debut 2 weeks ago at Mid-Ohio, we're going to have the Spec Miatas. And don't worry, if you're in the Spec Racer Ford action, they'll be back with us next week. And so welcome, Tim. It's great to have you back in the booth this week.
Definitely. And, well, it's 2 a.m. in the UK, but why would I want to stay up for it? Well, if I'm staying up for 2 a.m., you know it's got to be good. Love covering this series with yourself and Jonathan. I just love the racing. It's obviously, you mentioned Valentine's Day, St. Valentine's Day, or the Feast of St. Valentine, as it's otherwise known. We're going to be in for some biblical action with the Feast of Motorsport, Greg.
Yeah, and this track, it is one of this nation's treasures. It really is. I mean, if you're into motor racing, that is Road America. Let's do this because
even the roads around it apparently are great for driving on as well. Obviously, sensibly within the speed limit.
Exactly. Well, and that's why we have Road America, is because people weren't doing it sensibly. That's where actually some of the street racing, road racing, started in the United States there, and beautiful Watkins Glen. But let's do this. By the way, we normally send our drivers out for a 15-minute qualifying, but because of the longer length of Road America, we're giving them 20 minutes in order to set a fast lap and set the grid for tonight's 20-minute sprint race. But let's do this so that you all can see what our drivers see, what I see, and what I love about Road America, the National Park of Speed. Let's turn things over to Morgan Burkhardt from Team Delta Sport. He's going to give you tonight's track guide of this beautiful track.
Hello everyone, my name is Morgan Burkhardt for Delta Sport US, and welcome to the 4-mile-long, 14-corner Road America circuit nestled in the heart of Wisconsin. This is a very long, straight track with lots of 90-degree corners at the ends of the straight, so it's good for racing. As we're coming up to turn 1, we're going to try and break between the 3 and the 1, really kind of throw the car into the late apex turn 1 using all of the track as we can, just really keep the minimum speed up to carry as much speed as we can. As we come down this hill, kind of bend to the left, brake pretty late, and then kind of bend the car into the apex, track out as much as we can. It's really about making all of the corners as wide as possible and carrying as much speed as we possibly can, because the straights are so incredibly long that every mile an hour, every tenth of a mile an hour that you can get coming out of a corner is a mile an hour or 2 or 3 at the end of the straight. So coming into the heavy braking zone at turn 5, we're going to look for the 2 board, using all of the entry pavement that we can get away with, hitting the apex, using all of the road on the exit we can get away with. Again, just trying to maximize the corner. And then coming up over the hill, we want to brake right under the bridge, throw it into the apex, kind of track out using, again, as much track as we can, a flat out kink as we enter the hurry downs. And this is where it gets kind of difficult with the carousel. It's a balancing act, as we're going to kind of brake at the 2 using this entry curve to get the car rotated. There's a dip on the apex that you want to hit, and that'll really bring the car into the corner. As the carousel, we're going to kind of come in from the center of track, just try and keep one solid arc with the steering wheel as we come through, trying to not to get on and off the throttle as much as we can, carry as much speed as we can, and again, solid arc, just balance the car with the brake and the throttle. I use a little bit of trail braking as we come through the kink, which in this car thankfully is a flat out corner, just minimizing the steering input to maximize the arc and carry as much speed as we can as we're coming down the long straight to Canada Corner, which is another hot passing zone. So we're going to kind of brake at the 2.5 pretty late, using all of the entrance, again all of the exit, making every corner as wide as we possibly can. And then we're coming up to turn 13, which is a little blind over a crest. There's a lot of road if you really need it. It's not really a corner in this car. And the final corner, which is the most important one on the track, you're going to kind of come across the track, brake diagonally, and then get it into the apex using all of the little runoff curb on the exit as we come up the steep finishing line hill. It's possible, especially in this car, to draft right past somebody for the win. So yeah, there's a completed lap of Road America for Ray Esports Racing and Spec Racer.
And thanks so much to Morgan Burkhardt for tonight's track guide of the National Park of Speed, Road America. And wouldn't you know it, Morgan Burkhardt, although he's sitting on the pit lane right now, Tim, he is your provisional pole sitter in the Volkswagen Jettas with a fast time of 2:33.69. Kayla Patry, our provisional pole sitter, currently with just about 3 minutes remaining in qualifying for the GR86 Cup cars.
It's even more impressive, Greg. He's out-qualified 7 Toyotas, albeit Mark Sherman being one of them. He said his time to lead is on each of his 3 previous hot laps. So, I mean, that's an astounding effort. These cars, for those who at home may not have driven them, you know, something a bit new to them. Obviously, they're diesel, which means that the engine sound them is really, really quiet. They're a real challenge to drive, but what their key feature to them Let's ride on board. Feel the noise, feel the rush of 2 litres of diesel. Yes, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. But yeah, as I mentioned, this key feature is that they're really slippery in a straight line.
Yes.
And
Yeah,
we were mentioning just during the track guide there as well, you know, for if you want to take up endurance racing at full fuel capacity, you get a 3-hour stint out of one of these in iRacing, which is a long time to be sat behind the wheel on one set of tyres. I can tell you.
Yes, I was going to say the fuel will last a heck of a lot longer than maybe the tires or maybe even the brakes. And we saw this even at Mid-Ohio, where the Jettas were definitely faster in a straight line. They would, you know, obviously they're not going to rev very high, but much more slippery even than the GR86s. The advantage that the GR86s have certainly is in cornering speed. And we'll have to see. I was talking to the league administrators when we ran this pairing 2 weeks ago at Mid-Ohio, Tim. They did a combined start. Basically, this group gridded up based on their lap times, regardless of class. And, you know, at the front of the GR86 field, you can see like the top 7 or 8. They obviously didn't have to worry about the Jettas until they came back around. But it made for some very difficult racing between the 2 classes. And I think the thought here tonight, especially with the long straightaways here at Road America, is that they may put the 2 different classes, grid each class by themselves. And of course, we'll have to figure out which one is going to be the front group. But you know, the thought is, at least for the first couple of laps, to have maybe a little bit better racing within each class. We'll have to see how that plays out, as we've got about a half a minute left in qualifying here. We're watching now Deacon Greenfield, driver the number 36 car, that blue-green Logitech car, currently second fastest in the GR86s here, and he's working now his very last flying lap. Murphy Nichols, Giancarlo School are in 3rd and 4th currently. Now, you know, we're looking here, and we've got, I believe, somewhere along the lines of 14 of the Toyota GR86s, and actually pretty evenly split, around 16 of the Jettas that have gone out on track. And we're going to talk a little bit more as to, I think, why we've got so much interest in the Jettas, because our new partner this season, Grass Paddock Motorsports, last week in the off week for these cars announced a really nice prize package, and it's not done on a per season basis. It's got a it's really done to help promote and keep people racing here with the Esports Racing League. We'll get to that in just a moment. But Frank Schwartz, who's out in his Jetta right now in the number 24 machine, and actually, well, he's not now. He just clicked out of the session. He is the proprietor of Grass Paddock Motorsports. We'll definitely have to get him into the booth at some point and talk to him, but he's been very generous with a package, and we'll talk about that as the race goes on. Really quickly, Tim, here before we get to the grid, I did want to mention at Mid-Ohio, Caleb Patry took the win in the GR86s with Schooler, Will Robbins, Skip Brock, Bob Kucera, your top 5. And that is exactly, if we take a look at the point standings in GR86, that's exactly how things played out. No bonus points for any of those drivers. And for the Jettas, there you go for T3, Patry, Schooler, Robbins, Brock, and Kucera with John Wilson just out of the top 5. For the Jettas, or T4, Morgan Burkhardt took the win in the initial race at Mid-Ohio 2 weeks ago. Beans Forster came home in 2nd. Andrew Pilata and Paul Slavonic finished 3rd and 4th, with Trenton Kramer coming home in 5th. And I think Trenton right now, currently, your second fastest driver in qualifying, so he's definitely looking to improve on how he did at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course.
This driver's just running into overtime in qualifying here, and is able to finish out their laps. Not a closed hard shut, as you see in some series, and chance for the drivers few to improve, although not too many improvements going on. And Nobody able to displace Patry and Burkhardt at the top of the standings in their respective categories, Greg. But you're just saying, obviously, well, that's gone horribly wrong there. For
that's
for
Mark
Sherman.
Sherman, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, that's not how he intended, or maybe one of those, oh, I've had enough of this and just stuck it in the wall out of pure frustration. Let's take a little look at the replay. So he's
we got a couple seconds here.
Yeah. So it's coming down into 5. Ragus,
Yep.
there we go.
Yep, and that is, that is not uncommon there to get a little loose. And, these GR86s, Tim, the braking, I think, has proven to be, or the braking in combination with the wild weight transfer that you sometimes get in this car because the suspension is a little, maybe a little underdamped. It's been an issue that your typical trail braking doesn't seem to work all that well. You typically have to get off the brakes and then turn the car in, and looks as though that was he might have maybe had a little bit too much weight transferred to the front of the car when he turned in there at 5. But like we said, bunch of 90-degree corners, and none of them are easy.
No, definitely not. A big shout out to iRacing on that one. Obviously, the sim that we're using this evening for providing the Toyota GR86 for free.
Yes.
Didn't have to do that, and it's been incredibly popular during the officials, and you can see why. It just brings great wheel-to-wheel action, side-by-side racing, and as a driver's ticket to the grid, I know that's what we're going to have this evening, Greg.
All right, so what we're going to do here, and I'm looking at the grid as it's forming up, we are going to have the two classes separated, and we're going to have the GR86s up front. I'll run down the starting order there if you want, Tim, and then we are going to have the Jettas starting back behind. So in your first group, our GR86s with the pole time of 231.293, it's Caleb Patry driving the Delta Sport number 198. Deacon Greenfield's going to start just to his left in the number 36 machine. Row number 2 is going to be made up of Murphy Nichols from Smoketown Brewery Racing with Giancarlo Schooler from Delta Sport starting on the outside of row number 2. Andrew Wozencroft, he'll start 5th tonight with Nagase Yokijikawa starting in 6th. Justin Huffman is going to start 7th in the GR86s. I believe his son is driving in the Jettas today, or probably in the Jettas today. Yes, Antonio Rice will start in 8th. And row number 5, Brian McRae with Josh Justice starting 9th and 10th. I just saw Josh racing in Spec Racer Sports at the real Circuit of the Americas this weekend. Did a great job during the Sunday feature race. Jim Brewster, he's going to start 12th with Charles Vaccaro. Brewster's going to start 11th with Vaccaro starting in 12th. Then we've got Mark Sherman and Rich Green, Morgan, and then I'm going to turn it over to you because I think we've got Morgan Burkhardt, your pole sitter, there making up row number 8.
We have indeed. He's got Trenton Cromer alongside him on the front row, although it's deep within the field within the VW Jettas. Next up is Jameson Huffman with Felix Barotti alongside him. Then it's Andrew Benner. Obviously, Andrew Benner Motorsport. Can't think where he got that name from. With joining him on row 10 overall, it's Raymond Bleffen. Seth Smallman, he's got Benjamin Forster, or Beans Forster, as he's more commonly known, of Team Watson Racing, the company. Charles Bowley's got Michael Snow alongside him. Two very opposite ends of the country, New York and Texas. Joe Calamari, there's Jacob Schilling with him. Megan Overstreet, watch out for her. She's incredibly quick in pretty much turn her around to absolutely anything. She's got Joaquin Effinger alongside her on row 14. Row 15 overall is Derek Marcos with Jeremy Shepard rounding out your top 30. The last complete row, Frank Schwartz. He's got Brian Prokoff for company with Stephen Bleffen making up your 33-car grid. Although I do believe Joe Calamari is going to start from the pits, and so is Raymond Bleffen.
Yeah, indeed, and actually, I think that might be Stephen Bleffen who's starting from the pits. His brother Raymond qualifying 6th. So as the drivers are making their way down towards turn number 8, let's talk about the 2 sponsors now that we have for this race tonight, Tim. First up, it's the Common Gear, your single source for securely digitizing and storing automotive maintenance records. From photos of maintenance or restoration work to scans of receipts, users can easily catalog every piece of a car's story. Digitize or scan and backup securely in one location. Documenting your diagnostic and repair processes is as important as the work itself. And with the common gear, you can keep track of the steps you take, the parts and experts you use, all the aspects of your car's history. Don't risk losing value in your investment due to lost or incomplete service or repair records. For more information, visit Common Gear at www.thecommongear.com or on Instagram at _common_gear. All right, let's now move over to our second sponsor, and that is Grass Paddock Motorsports. New for this season, Grass Paddock Motorsport provides Mini Cooper race car rentals, trackside support, and coaching at tracks all over the eastern half of the country. GPM provides podium-capable rentals for B-Spec, the fastest-growing class of racing in the Sports Car Club of America for 3 years running, and now the 4th largest class overall. Grass Paddock has a unique approach where their race cars are located near the track you want to race instead of being in a central location, and that way you can avoid large towing fees. Come join us at Grass Paddock Motorsports, where Grass Paddock is not about our location, but about our attitude. For more information, visit www.grasspaddock.com. Look at that, Tim, just as they're coming into turn 14.
Perfection, as always, from yourself.
There we go, in the pace car now, braking towards that pit lane. Caleb Patry is going to lead the field up the tall Road America straight with Deacon Greenfield just to his right as they're getting ready for the green flag. And there it is. Green flag is in the air, and we are racing from Road America. We'll have that TDI Cup start in just a moment, as we now are still 2 by 2 all the way down through this 14 car field, with Patry to the inside. Greenfield, but as he got on the brakes, had about a half a car length advantage on Patry, but he's going to slide in right behind the 198 machine as they start to make the run down the hill towards turn 3. Murphy Nichols in that white Smoketown Brewery car, he's all the way to the inside as they're going into 3, as the Jettas now take the green flag, and it's Morgan Burkhardt in the green and black machine all the way to the outside, opening up that corner. The 2 red machines, we got his teammate Jamison Huffman now sliding in right behind in the number 89 machine. Trenton Kramer, who started off on the outside of the front row, he drops back in the 3rd. Felix Borodati now in 4th. Andrew Benna in the orange number 71 machine, he is running in 5th as all the Jettas now get into line. And Tim, I would suspect that we're going to see racing just like this, because those cars work amazingly in the draft.
And it looks like,
yeah, Vaccaro going off early, dropping to the back of the GR86 field there over at turn 5. Let's take a look, see what happens here.
I get the feeling maybe a bit of outbraking here. So on the run down to 5, bit of a tricky one as always, where it just drops away from you, and all did very well to avoid everyone there. Wow.
I think he realized he got on the brakes a little late there, Tim, and just broke to the inside. Either that, or, you know, if you take a look, he has gone and taken the tow back to the pit lane. He might have had some equipment issues.
That's one nice moment. You normally refer to as a bit of a Code Brown moment. We've had to change the lead-in VW Jetta. So there's all sorts around there. Oh, there's the wall. There's a big accident, Greg.
And that is, I believe, Brian McRae. In the Yokohama car, he goes off. Jim Brewster. Jim Brewster in the 933, the red 933 machine. He impacts the wall as well as they came out of the kink. And as we've got the Jettas starting to come up, and we're going to see Brewster, I'm sure, trying to get out of the way as we have our new leader, Jamison Huffman, in the Jettas, and all the Jettas coming past Brewster. Let's take a look, see exactly what happened here as McRae turned in for the kink. And you notice he missed the apex there, Tim, by about 1.5 feet. Ran wide, dropped the wheels at the outside, came over and clipped Brewster with just enough force to throw Brewster into the wall.
Wow, Brewster, the innocent bystander in that, coming through there full chat, nowhere to go. You're at full commitment, the car fully loaded up. You can't make its adjustments that you could do. Even something like a GT3. Oh, get ready for the impact. Oh no!
And you know, Brewster might have moved to the. You could tell he was waiting to see what that other car was going to do as it was bouncing through the air. But he might have moved to the right, maybe a touch too late, I think. And oh, contact between Burkhardt and Jamison Huffman as they go into turn number 1, as our Jettas are now starting their second flying lap here. And wow, much bigger difference.
Contact again.
Yeah, Burkhardt and Trenton Kramer getting together as they make the run down towards turn number 3. That may move Burkhardt, who is our winner in week 1, may see him drop back another position. Although he is he's got inside position on Felix Borodati there in the yellow number 59 machine. And now you can see Andrew Benna trying to decide whether he should follow Burkhardt down in the 5. He might make a late lunge there, trying to push Borodati to the outside as they come up the hill. And of course, we've got another left-hander as they come under the Corvette bridge here at turn number 6. But look at how many turns it takes to get a pass done as Burkhardt now moves back up into third, as we've got 3 wide coming into the hurry downs.
That was Raymond bluffing around there. Just what they were trying, I mean, 3 wide is ambitious anyway in any sort of car, and let alone 2 wide around that section of the track, and it was never going to work out. And Bleffen on the outside, the ever opportunistic Raymond Bleffen. You're going to watch him just get squeezed there. That was a bit of an assistant from the 71 just to push him wide.
Yeah, we had Beans, Forster, Benna, and then we had Bleffen. They're 3 wide as they were going into that high-speed turn 7, and just the tiniest little taps sends him around as we jump back to this battle in the GR86s. Caleb Patry is your leader. We're on board right now. We're taking a look at Murphy Nichols in the number 5 machine directly behind him. Nagase Yoshikawa in the purple and black number 98. That right now is the battle for the last step on the podium, as both Patry and Giancarlo Schooler have started to separate themselves out from the rest of the field. You can see those top 2 now coming down into turn number 1, starting their 3rd lap here at Road America. And again, these are 20-minute sprint races, Tim, and we have another great battle coming up next. We're going to have our Spec Miatas in race number 2, so definitely stay with us.
Well, you say, sprint races, Greg. This is becoming a bit like a war of attrition, as that's Overstreet.
It is. And so Megan Overstreet, we were talking about her in
there's another car off there as well.
Yes, and I think that's the Bleffen car again. I think that's the 151 of Ray Bleffen. Let's take a look here. As this happened as they were coming up through Bill Mitchell Bend into the final corner. Frank Schwartz is in that green machine as well. Yeah, and you see Overstreet, she just came over to the apex, and the 2 cars kind of got tied up. They are coming through the final corner through turn 14. Overstreet takes to the pit lane, and 2 weeks ago, Megan Overstreet, it looks like she overshot her pit box. Overstreet was running the GR86s and did incredibly well. I have a feeling that she may have moved over to the Jettas, Tim, due to, and I guess this would be as good a time as any since I mentioned Frank Schwartz, to bring up the Grass Paddock Motorsports Sim to Track program here. And it's essentially what we're going to see is over the course of 2023, Grass Paddock Motorsports is going to provide 2 drivers from the T4 class this year with a free real race car rental. They're going to be offering the 2 seats to deserving racers at their Mini Cooper B-Spec cars. One of the seats, one of the cars is going to go to an unlicensed, and when we say unlicensed, it means that they don't have a competition license. It doesn't mean that they're not licensed to drive in the United States, but it's going to go to an unlicensed driver to attend a competition licensing school or competition driving school. And then the second seat is going to go to an already licensed driver for a sprint or endurance race with the Sports Car Club of America or another sanctioning body, or a Grid Life Sunday Cup event. And there's going to be a three-person panel. It's Stevie Ray from Ray Esports Racing. It's Frank Schwartz, the owner of Grass Paddock Motorsports, and myself, and basically what we're looking for is clean racing, limited number of incidents on track, performance improvement, and of course participation as well. We don't require somebody to show up and race every single week, but we want to see them dedicate some time to the Esports Racing League. And so we'll be announcing winners later on in the year, but I think that's a great opportunity, and certainly is helping with the large number of Jetta racers that we have.
Talking of Jetta, sorry to cut across you, we've had a change to the lead. Burkhardt's there to Huffman, and he's done a brilliant job to haul that one back, because let's not forget, this time last lap, Burkhardt was down in, fourth place, pretty much.
Fourth place, yeah, battling with Borodati and Trent Kramer at the time. And it looks like Kramer has now dropped back a little bit further as Beans Forster in the 231 machine, the Slim Jim car, has gotten around, and Felix Borodati as well. So the yellow number 59 car, move him up in the third. But this is the kind of racing that we wanted to see, and we're seeing it both in the Jettas and also the GR86s. Both of these cars, they put big wide holes in the air. And it's a different kind of racing with these front-wheel drive cars. You really gotta look after those front tires. You
have. This won't be helping those tires. Thank goodness it's only 20 minutes, Greg. Well, this is even going to end well, incredibly well. Burkhardt just holding that one off there, Greg. Well, if they're racing like this at nearest damn it half race distance. What's it going to be like in the last lap, Craig? I do have to wonder. It could be look away, look if you dare, as they're going to get a bit more excitable, pushing to make those last chances. Largest proportion of overtaking opportunities come in the first half of the lap around here, Craig. The second half, this is more about momentum and carrying speed.
Indeed.
Last chance being in Canada Corner.
Yeah, I would say Canada Corner almost always turns out to be one of those places where you will see these large outbreaking possibilities. But oh, look at this as we jump back now, and this is the battle for third in GR Cup. No nose to tail fights like we see in the Jettas. We've got Nagase Yoshikawa in that black and purple machine. We've got Andrew Wozencroft in the red and white number 80 machine. Then Murphy Nichols trying to push Yoshikawa into turn number 1. Right back behind them, we've got Antonio Rice and then and Andrew Wozencroft fighting it out there. Oh my gosh, look at this. And Justin Huffman's along for the ride as well. He's in the blue 223 machine, that blue and red machine, trailing right along. But great fight there, as it looks like the GR86 is maybe starting to come up onto the back of the Volkswagen Jetta field now. Finally 11 minutes into this race.
Checking those Jettas, just keep it able top in there. Kramer and Benner have both come into the pits. That's going to be damage involved as they've both had off. So wow, this is hotting up, Greg. It's definitely, I know it's the winter, but wow, you'd never guess the temperature on the track right now.
Yeah, it's warm in Wisconsin right now, apparently, as we're looking at Wozencroft and Antonio Rice side by side. Rice, another one of the stalwarts in the Weekend Warrior Spec Racer Sports. Let's jump back to the Jettas now, and this is the battle for the lead. 4 cars, 1 leader. It's Morgan Burkhardt, it's Jamison Huffman, Beans Forster, and Felix Borodati currently running 4th in that yellow machine, as they were 2 by 2 going down into turn 5, Tim. And you'll see there as they continue to battle, the second pack led by Seth Spolman, who I believe is racing with this weekend from Seoul, South Korea. He's there in the number 42 machine with Michael Snow out of New York, and Frank Schwartz, who started at the tail end of the Jetta field. He is now up into 7th position. He's made up 13 so far.
That's great progression from him. Being helped by a few of the retirements, but half of them have come pretty much from overtakes out on track. So great results from Schwartz there, but it's hard to take your eyes off this battle for the lead. And Burkhardt and Huffman had opened up a bit of a gap originally, but due to their battling, it's closed right up again. It's brought Forster and Borodati right back into the fray. And this is going to be a change to the lead because Huffman's on the inside in the Canada Corner.
Here we go. Who's going to break latest? And Burkhardt getting into the grass. And, you know, I saw in practice where both Huffman and Burkhardt were working together and I'll say playing together in practice. And Burkhardt dropped the wheel into the grass right there coming in the Canada corner. And he lost the car back then. He managed to gather it back up and hold on and not lose a lot of ground. Now, Tim, you mentioned, and here's a big change. Murphy Nichols, who had been running as high as third, he goes off, and that is over at turn 1. Deacon Greenfield off as well. So 2 of our drivers in the top 4 of the GR86 field, they are now going to drop back. Let's take a look, see what happened.
This could, well, I was going to say, could this be down to traffic and coming around to lap? But it's not. Oh, this is going to end well. Oh,
yeah, that was Greenfield. Yoshikawa was the purple and black machine to the inside, and then Murphy Nichols. And it looks like Greenfield might have tried to slot himself between Yoshikawa and Nichols, and there just wasn't enough room to do it, and they all pinballed into the wall.
Yeah, ended in tears. Wow. It's just watching here, Beans Forster, bit of the old bump drafting going on down the. What would you call the back straightaway? The Moraine sweep anyway, through there, definitely. You see just how close they are, and it's, well, look at that. It's pushed Burkhardt into the lead.
Well, not yet there. Maybe a little bit of a tap between Jamison Huffman and Forster, but Forster also, as they came into 5, he knew when to get out of the throttle, when to back out, and give Burkhardt a little bit of room to brake and then carry speed back through the corner and push him back up the hill. But, you know, Tim, you were talking about, you know, how quick these Jettas are in a straight line and how they are really quite aerodynamic. But they, much like the MX-5s, they put a big bunch of dirty air behind them and open up a big hole there. They're wide, they're tall, and they draft very, very well.
They do, and that's, but then equally as well, with all the fighting that's going on, that's now brought. It was Burkhardt versus Forster. Their fighting brought Burkhardt versus Huffman. That brought Forster and Borodati into it. Now Sportman and Snow are right onto the back of them, so we've got a 6-way fight. Probably should have lead, just as we've seen that battle for the sixth there in GR86. But the more they keep fighting, the more they keep tripping over one another, Greg, more people are going to be brought into this fight. And where they're all relatively spaced out at the front of the Jetta class, they're now all on top of one another. And it's who's going to make the move first, who's going to show their hands, because time's running out. We've got 4 minutes left on the clock. That's right. About 2 more laps of racing left. And, well, there are plenty of opportunities around here, Greg, but you can fast run out of them. And then you get locked into the, well, do I make a chance here? If I don't pull it off, I could actually lose places, because you can bet your bottom dollar. If Forster, for instance, doesn't get the move done, Huffman and Borodati are going to be rubbing their hands in glee to get the move done. Wow, is this going to be it?
There we go. It's Beans Forster now moves the driver's right to try to outbrake Burkhardt into turn number 1. He's going to work his way past the pole sitter tonight in the Jetta is the number 40 machine. So drop Burkhardt now back into second with Huffman. Then we've got Borodati. Then right behind Borodati, it's Seth Spolman and Mike Snow. Once again, all in a line, and you can see they're coming up on some slower traffic. The question is, I think probably with a lap and a half or so to go, or with 2 laps to go, unlikely that they're going to get to that traffic ahead, but that may impact things as they come down. As you mentioned, and I know we haven't shown them much, Patry currently with almost a 5-second advantage on Giancarlo Schooler at the front of the GR86 field, as he's looking for his 2nd win in this very young season. And Giancarlo Schooler now, though, he's got almost a 10-second advantage over Yoshikawa in 3rd. So a big gap there up at the front, although Yoshikawa, I think he's still under attack. That fight has not ended yet, as he's got Antonio Rice as well as Andrew Wozencroft challenging for the last step on the podium in GR86.
Wow, it all got a little bit tasty right at the end, didn't it? All over the last place on the podium in GR86, and they are nose to tail, Greg. And just looking at the time, I think they're going to take the white flag this time. Ooh, will know that because it'll be on Caleb Patch. He's just crossing the line. There it is.
There it is. White flag in the air. And we've got 2.5-minute laps and only 2 minutes left on the clock. So last lap here, and when our Jettas come by the start-finish line, of course, they will get the white flag as well. Oh, as Huffman under braking gets loose. I don't know. I don't think Burkhardt got into the back of the car, but that's, you know, that's the advantage of front-wheel drive there, Tim. If the rear end gets loose, if the rear end steps out, you just push down on the throttle a little bit more, and if you're lucky, the car will straighten itself out. It did that time, but also, speaking of luck, just when he needed it, Beans Forster now opening up a tremendous lead of about 2 car lengths.
It was helped, well, Huffman and Burkhardt were helped because Forster ran wide out of Canada corner. So that allowed these two to stay right in the fight. And what we're really impressed by Burkhardt, he's almost given it a bit of a Scandinavian flick into the corners to get the rear end to turn and to counteract that, that understeer that you get with front wheel drive cars. It's really impressive. There you go, that slipstream effect. Top 3, all on top of one another. Borodati, Spallman there, looming in the background. Don't discredit Snow in 6th. He might be at the back end of this train and falling off slightly, but all it's going to take is one incident, one little moment, and he'll be there and right into the fight. This is basically roll dice, Greg. The 6 sides to a dice, and I think that's the only way you can distinguish who's going to finish first.
All right, as they make their way down the Marine sweep for the very last time, and now Burkhardt steps to the inside along Jamison Huffman. Can he get 1 car or maybe 2? He's definitely not close enough to battle our leader, the 231 machine of Beans Forster, but Morgan Burkhardt now moves up in the second, and that lead pack in the Jettas, they're starting to come up on the back of Justin Huffman, who you see there has got some aerodynamic disadvantages in the 223 car, the red and blue machine missing a hood, and directly in front of him, Rich Green. And I thought that perhaps they wouldn't get up to these cars before the end of the race, but they may play the spoilers here, Tim, as the Jettas are catching fairly quickly. All right, coming up the hill, coming up the Road America Straight, and taking our first win of the night, it's Caleb Patry, driver of the number 198 Delta Sport GR86. He takes the win. Coming home in second now, coming underneath the starter stand, it's going to be Giancarlo Scolar. Thankfully, he didn't slam on the brakes right in front of that other car. And coming home in third, in a diamond formation, it's going to be Nagase Yoshikawa. He takes the 3rd spot on the podium. Antonio Rice, he manages to hold off Andrew Wozencroft by, I believe, 0.08 of a second. And here we go. It's the battle for the win in the Jettas, Tim. They're coming down into the final corner now.
Forster's going to have to do it the hard way here, Greg. Right around the outside. He's going to carry momentum, and that's going to help him up the hill.
And so does Jamison Huffman help his teammate push him up? Does he push Forster up as they come up to the line? Definitely long enough to draft past. And as they come up to the start-finish line, taking the win with a little bit of help from his friends, Beans Forster, margin of victory, 0.03 of a second over Morgan Burkhardt. Jamison Huffman, who helped play the spoiler, he finishes 0.06 back from there in third. Field Sportati Seth Spallman will finish just off the podium. Michael Snow will come home in 6th. Frank Schwartz works his way up into 7th position. But great fight there at the end. And, you know, for cars that draft so well, Tim, that Road America Straight, getting a great run out of the final corner is absolutely paramount.
Oh, definitely. And if Forster hadn't had a bit of assistance there, a bit of a push along from Huffman, that would have been Burkhardt. But thanks to the draft and the bit of pushing, it was all different. But our top 3 separated by a 10th across all 3 of them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Technically under a 10th, Greg.
This is what we hoped for when we brought the Jettas and the GR86s for that matter in. Let's take a look at that finish one more time. As Forster and Burkhardt were side by side coming down into Canada corner. with Forster to drivers right to the inside. He had the move, he had the position, he had the lead as they came up Bill Mitchell. Burkhardt cheated to the inside. He was going to get hung out to dry, perhaps, coming in the 14 if he couldn't get around the Forster machine. And you just see Jamison Huffman there hesitate for a moment. He gets the run out of the corner, and then he's got to choose who gets the win. Does he push Burkhardt? No, he pushes Beans Forster. He moves over drivers right and pushes the 231 into the lead and the win.
I tell you what, it was a brilliant race car there, though, from Burkhardt, because you could see where he was just moving Forster around, forcing him offline, forcing him to do the hard work, even though he was the car in front. Incredible racecraft there from Burkhardt, and a bit gutted he didn't walk away with a victory.
Amazingly enough. All right, so Tim, because we've got some time constraints and we've got another race coming up, unfortunately, we normally interview our top two podium finishers in each class. Unfortunately, we're just going to be able to grab the winners, which is unfortunate because we've got about 25 people waiting in the green room for us. So let's do this. Let's first bring in our winner here in the T4 class in the Volkswagen Jettas, and it's Beans Forster.
Wow. Beans Forster, congratulations. Coming into those last few corners, just talk us through it, because it was crazy, and Morgan was really like pushing. I was just saying, before we brought you in here, was like maneuvering you around to force you offline and get you away. Did you think you were going to lose, you come out the victor, or did you think that potentially you're going to lose it to Morgan?
I figured I was at the mercy of Jamison on that one. Whether it was 3 wide or him sticking behind Morgan, I was basically at the will of whoever he wanted to win.
Well, he picked you. It was your lucky day. And but before that, I mean, during the race, it looked like it was a bit of a war attrition out there. It was every man for and dog for himself. Just take us what it was like to be inside the car quickly. I know it was short on time here, but what it was like, because it was just everyone was battling one another constantly.
Yeah, it was pretty tough. I think the worst part about it was that I got such a bad qualifying run, not having a draft or anything, and I should have been with my normal pace in the second row, but starting P8. So that was probably the worst of it. And I just had to find every gap I could.
Well, you found them and a bit of assistance to push you over the line, but even so, it was a victory. Congratulations, Beans Forster there, your winner in the VW Jetta class.
Thanks, guys.
All right, there you go. Thanks so much to Beans. And so we're having a little trouble getting people who actually want to talk to us in the GR86 class. Caleb Patry, when I told him we could only bring one GR86 driver in for an interview, he said, find somebody who had actually had an interesting race. And so I figured we'd bring in Nagisa Yoshikawa, and then he checked out too. So what we're going to do, we're going to bring in Giancarlo Schooler, finishing second tonight in the GR86s.
Giancarlo, congratulations. We've seen a bit of a replay at the start. I mean, it was bump draft city out there, wasn't it? And then the start of the race, it was really close between everyone. I mean, was it just about for yourself just staying alive, playing it cautious, or were you looking to take more of the aggressive game and the aggressive tactics?
Nah, I was definitely playing it more aggressive that first few laps. Didn't have a great qualifying run, so I was trying to make up for it in those first few laps. I told Deacon I was coming on the start, so he knew I was going to hit him from behind. But yeah, I was really trying to make up those places, get up to Caleb, but unfortunately he pulled away in the long run, so.
And then, obviously, from that sort of point onwards, it started to thin out. Were you quite relieved to see that, people were dropping off behind you and you were getting away from them as well?
Yeah, it was nice. When I finally realized that I wasn't going to be able to stick with Caleb, it was nice to know I had a nice little buffer behind me, just in case I made a mistake or anything. Luckily I didn't, but yeah, the buffer was nice just to have.
Definitely. Well, congratulations, Giancarlo. Second overall, and in the GR86 class, it's Giancarlo Schooler from Delta Sports.
Thank you.
All right, there you go. Congratulations to Giancarlo. And so, Tim, let's do this. Let's take a quick little break. Let's thank some of our partners and sponsors. And when we come back, we'll have race number 2, another 20-minute sprint race. This time it's the Spec Miatas, the Global MX-5 Cup cars from the National Park of Speed, Road America. You are watching season number 8, the Winter season of the Ray Esports Racing League. We'll be right back. And welcome back to the National Park of Speed. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody. Here with the Ray Esports Racing League in season number 8, the winter season. I'm Greg Ginsburg along with Tim Cox. And Tim, we had double the fun, double the excitement with the GR86s and the Jettas that last time. But next up, and you know, it's never a dull moment when we've got the Spec Miatas, the Global MX-5 Cup cars. I mean, the same types of close racing that we just saw a few moments ago.
You've hit the nail on the head. It is never a dull moment. It's never boring. There's always something to look at. And although we had double the fun, or some might say double the trouble in the last race, it's now down to one. But you know there's going to be racing up and down through the field. And just looking at the numbers here, Greg, as well, you know, a big old stacked field. 28 cars at the moment vying their way. Who's going to come out on top? Is it going to be someone, carrying on the momentum? Morgan Burkhart's looking for a bit of redemption after just losing out in the VW Jettas. Don't discredit, likes of Schooler, Hoffman, Justice. It's take your pick, really, as to who it could be. And for me, it was a bit of a dark horse, Antonio Rice. Don't discredit the Portuguese driver. Yes, incredibly strong in the Spec Racer Fords, but he's the kind of guy, he can turn his hand to anything. He's a wily old fox, and he'll show these kids how it's done.
It's interesting. So our other announcing partner here on the Ray Esports Racing League, DJ Clark, who also announces, much like you have, the Weekend Warriors League. The one comment he made about Antonio is he's very strong in qualifying.
Yes,
but
incredibly.
Sometimes when the pressure is on in race situations, he doesn't rise to the occasion. And so, we'll see if that happens. That was somewhat the case this past race in the GR86.
He's been working on a lot, Greg, from when I was covering the Spec Racer Ford series, the Weekend Warriors, as you're just mentioning, that he was definitely Mr. Saturday, as it is, the phrase goes, electric in qualifying. I remember at Daytona, him putting it on the front row, and he's in the second category within Spec Racer Fords, the inverted commas, the weaker category. Electric qualifying, but then that was it. Always qualified near the front, but then really struggled. He has been working on his consistency in racing conditions in his racecraft, and it's started to come to the forefront. Yes, there's still a bit of a mistake in him. He's not quite there, but he's improving, and that's it's really starting to show from his race results that he's putting in recent times. But then you've got likes of Overstreet. She's qualified well down at this stage in qualifying. We're not too far away from the end. We've got about a minute 20 left on the clock.
And she's and Overstreet, I think, is on only her second flying lap right now. Here,
He's forced to. He's had both his times deleted so far.
Yes.
So there's going to be a bit of a everything's been jumbled up in the air, unless the likes of Overstreet and Forster can put in some decent times. Deacon Greenfield, he's had his first time deleted as well. Yukawa, he's just on his first flying lap. He's going to squeeze that one into the depth. It's all or nothing for him.
Yeah, it's tough. It seems like almost a third of the field here has not been able to put in a valid lap time. Basically from 20th on back, as drivers have had these off tracks here at a very difficult Road America. So real quick, Tim, as the clock is running down on qualifying, and we've got Morgan Burkhardt, your provisional pole sitter, with Schooler and Patry, who is our race one, one of our race one winners. Let's quickly take a look back to last week at the Circuit of the Americas, where the Spec Racer Fords race. They're going to be joining us again next week at Sonoma. Morgan Burkhardt took the win. That's 2 wins in 2 races in the Spec Racer Fords for Morgan Burkhardt. Murphy Nichols finishing second. Beans Forster came home third, with Jim Brewster and Megan Overstreet rounding out your top 5. And if we take a look at the point standings now in Spec Racer Ford, Morgan Burkhardt with 51 points. He's got a 14-point advantage now over Megan Overstreet in second. Jim Brewster another 4 points back from there in third. And then Beans Forster, who was our season 7 champion, he finds himself currently 1 point back from Brewster in fourth. And Stevie Ray tied right now at 32 points with Beans Forster. Actually, I'm sorry, that is not Stevie Ray. That's Andrew Wozencroft that's tied with Beans Forster. All right, and so as the clock is winding down now, let's take a look, and now as good a time as any. Round number 1 for the Spec Miatas was also last week, and Morgan Burkhardt, he took the win there with Giancarlo Schooler, Deacon Greenfield, your top 3, with Beans Forster and Michael Snow. I should mention that Caleb Patry was not racing with us at Circuit of the Americas, and so that's pretty much how the points are playing out right now, with Burkhardt, Schooler, Greenfield, Forster, Snow, and then Andrew Wozencroft and Charles Bailey.
Well, Forster, all or nothing, final lap, gets himself onto the second row of the grid. He'll start 4th.
Look at that. And Beans Forster, Tim, was our season 6 champion, as I mentioned, in Spec Racer Fords. but also in the Spec Miatas. And we ran the Formula IR04, the F4 cars last season as well. He was the champion there as well.
We had some great racing in the F4s, didn't we? It was absolutely scintillating. But, I mean, Morgan Berthart, talk about putting a stamp of authority. Well, I was saying in qualifying. Well, even then, yeah, actually improving. He jumps up onto the front row with Berthart, but just before that, he was 4/10 clear of the field.
Yes.
That's a big old time difference around here. I know it's a big track, 4 miles in length, but even so, that's a real.
Well, and now he's still 3/10 clear of Patry, which is quite amazing here. And of course, we saw as Burkhardt provided tonight's track guide and how much he has to saw at the wheel to keep that MX-5 going around this track. It's, we talk about how neutral handling these MX-5s are, but it's a lot of work to get these cars around Road America quickly. And obviously Burkhardt, for the moment, at least in qualifying, able to do it almost 3/10 faster than any other driver.
It's all about the momentum with these cars. And, well, Murphy Nichols, that's going to be a time deleted for being off the track as he's clipped the grass and again. So I think he's going to start in 8th. Just having a bit of a look. So just your Justice out on the track. Mark Sherman's just come across the line, so qualifying's done, dusting him. Well, there you go, and it's done for Justice.
and it looks like he's just going for a run. Nice little play in the grass there. Mark Sherman calls it a session as well. He is done, and looks like we're going to be heading to the grid here in just a moment, Tim. And as we do, and as our drivers are finishing up, let me quickly, we'll talk about our sponsor for tonight's race. We got a long pace lap. We'll do that in just a moment. But Murphy Nichols finishing up his last lap, and I think both he and Justice are the last 2 drivers on track, and Justice there just doing donuts. Having a good old time there out in the grass. It's the national park of speed. If you can't do something like that in a big national park, what can you do, Tim? All right, let's take a look. Probably not. Let's take a look at our starting grid for tonight's second race of the evening, the Global MX-5 Cupper, the Spec Miatas. Morgan Burkhardt with a pole time 2:32.180, and that was I think about 2 seconds faster than the GR86 car. So I found that a little bit surprising. But Caleb Patry, 3/10 off, or 309 thousandths if you want to be more exact. He's going to start on the outside of row 1. Giancarlo Schooler, driver of the number 111 Delta Sport machine. We've got 3 Delta Sport drivers all at the front. Beans Forster from Team Watson Racing, he's going to start in 4th. Then we've got Bradford Gould, who's going to start on the inside of row number 3 in the number 97 machine with Antonio Rice. Great qualifying run for him in the 914. He's going to start 6th. Then we've got Lewis Lockshine. He's in that orange number 124 machine with Murphy Nichols. He does qualify in 8th position. Then Nagase Yoshikawa, he's going to start in 9th with Charles Vaccaro starting in 10th. And Jameson Huffman and Josh Justice, they will make up row number 6. And I'll take one more here as we've got Michael Snow. He's going to start 13th today in the 077 machine. And then it's Megan Overstreet driving the 044. She'll start 14th.
Jim Brewster. He's got Andrew Rosencroft for company alongside him. Justin Huffman. Let's have alongside Trent Kramer. Then running at the top 20 and row 10. Charles Bowley. There's Mark Sherman for company. Jeremy Shepard in the 70, so that's alongside the 700 of Joaquin Effinger. They got Joe Calamari with Joshua Soto, Soto not setting a time in qualifying. Likewise, Ekers Sassonet in Greenfield, Borodati, Snow, Green, Bleffen, with running out the top 30, all not setting times, and likewise Andrew Benner running out your 31 car grid.
All right, so as the pace lap has begun, Tim, let's talk quickly about our sponsor for tonight's second race of the evening, and that is Grassroots Motorsports Magazine. They're built for the true sports car enthusiast, and Grassroots Motorsports has one mission: to be your personal guide to the sports car world. Whether it's online at grassrootsmotorsports.com, in print or in person, The racers and builders, the car nerds at Grassroots Motorsports take you behind the scene and show you how to make your car better. Along the way, they'll give you a taste of everything else this hobby has to offer, from 1,000 horsepower track monsters to cool street cars built in driveways. They also maintain a collection of staff-built project cars because hands-on technical articles, they're not typed behind the desk, they're scribbled down in the garage. To not only read but become part of your story, head on over to grassrootsmotorsports.com. And so, Tim, as we see here, a number of drivers looking to get some heat in the equipment.
I don't know if you spotted it, Greg. Sorry to go across you. Right in the background, Stephen Bleffin had a bit of an excursion at turn 3, and I just caught him right in the background. Just sailed off into the distance, across the grass and into the barrier, and he jumped straight to the pits.
And let's take a look, because I've never done anything like that before in my life, in real life.
No, me neither.
Let's take a look as he was trying to catch up to the back of the field here. And looks like Mr. Blethyn now finds his car in the pits as he's trying to get repairs. And, you know, this is, well, actually, it was Ray Blethyn who had the issues during the previous session. I'm wondering the way he went off there. I wonder if Steven also was perhaps having some mechanical issues. He has in the past, but that car now is sitting in the pit lane, and you can see it there all by its lonesome. I was going to mention Josh Soto starting all the way towards the back of the field in the number 07 machine last season, and I believe it was DJ who was in the booth with me for this race. We were at Sonoma Raceway, and Josh Soto started at the very rear of, I believe, a 20-car field, and he worked his way up and could not manage to get by Beans Forster for the win, but hounded Beans Forster for the last 2 laps of a 20-minute race from Sonoma, and you know how difficult it is to pass at Sonoma Raceway.
Oh, yes.
So we should definitely be keep an eye on the 07 machine here, who is scheduled to, I believe, is starting 24th tonight.
That's correct. Yes, he's lining up alongside Joaquin Effinger in the 700. For number similarity fans out there.
Indeed, Joaquin with the big Texas flag on the door. Lots of Texans here racing with us tonight. I think I'm fairly certain that Mr. Snow is also one of our part of our Texas contingent. Charles Vaccaro, I believe Vaccaro is from California, but Michael Snow in the 077 machine, starting 13th. He is from Texas and drives a B-Spec car of all things. He would have been very well suited to the Jettas, just in the last race. But we've got the pace car on the pit lane. Morgan Burkhardt has the field, and the green flag is in the air for race number 2 here at Road America in the Esports Racing League winter season, and getting a big push now from the inside line. It is Giancarlo School right behind Morgan Burkhardt. Burkhardt is going to try to jump to an early lead over Caleb Patry. Cannot do it though. They are side by side. And going off. And now it looks like we're probably going to have half the field gone here. We can see one car getting a tow. Yeah, lots of cars off. Looks like Matt Snow is off. Josh Soto, I believe, is still there in the field. Bradford Gould, Josh Justice affected. Trent Kramer in the 444 affected. Many cars. I think Charles Bailey and Charles Vaccaro went off and rejoined. But here at the front of the field, nobody's thrown a full course caution, Tim. And it is Caleb Patry and Morgan Burkhardt once again side by side, going up in the 6, and what was about a 25-car field is now about a 20-car field. Let's take a look and see what happened as they make their way to turn 7.
I did wonder, Greg, because everyone was pushing, bumping, squeezing one another. But wow, there's no love lost here on Valentine's Day, and wow, there you go. Just that one little tap.
And that was enough to start the
narrowest part of the circuit, and it ended in disaster, and everyone checking up.
Wow. So with all of that, We noticed at the tail end of that, Megan Overstreet in the
Whoa,
044
great.
machine. Oh, go.
That's a big moment for Schooler there.
The Schooler, yeah, and now going off and into the grass is Lewis Lockshine. He manages to rejoin Jamison Huffman in the blue and red machine. He's going to get around Lockshine. I was just going to say that Overstreet was the last car through in that incident, had a little bit of a tap, but still managed to make up 4 positions. But we are not even 1 lap in the books, Tim, and Josh Soto now up in the 10th, making up 14 positions. Now, it helped that there are a number of drivers on the pit lane, but Josh Soto there,
he made up about, I was watching the timing tag, Greg, and he made up about 4 positions in 1 corner. Incredible stuff from Soto, but what a save there from Lewis Lockshine, or
amazing.
Probably more should be Lewis opposite Lockshine with how he's soaring at the wheel there. It's all sorted out for Alsop in the background too.
And for the 2nd race in a row, Megan Overstreet taking to the pit lane. Maybe she did take on more damage than we expected. All right, let's take a look at that bobble from Lewis Lockshine as they're coming into the kink, which has shown to be a problem. Oh, and there's Schooler getting loose. Lockshine steps wide, misses the apex, runs wide through the DRS board, and you can see he just lost a ton of momentum, and we're going to see there as Jamison Huffman drives to his left, right on by to take over the position. It was a good job to avoid, and a good way to gather the car back up by Lockshine, as he was, I think, maybe overreacting a little bit to the wiggle from Giancarlo Schooler, who now is going to drop to the inside, the 111 car, trying to get past Caleb Patry through turn number 5, and little out of control there for the 111 car, Tim, as he now slots back in ahead of Beans Forster.
You dubbed it well, didn't you, Greg? You said there'll be action. You said there'll be drama, maybe a few tears. And it's not failed to deliver, has it, really, whatsoever? We had 2 classes in the last race, which we think mean double the trouble. Well, definitely not the case. It's all been happening here, and we're only on lap 2. It feels like we've done like 5 laps already.
We have.
Wow.
It feels like it. I mean, between what we saw in the first couple laps of the first race and here tonight, and I think now that I'm looking at it, I think as we're looking at that first incident, I think it was Antonio Rice that ended up getting into the car that spun off, and I think it was Brad Gould in the 97 machine that had spun off in that turn 1 incident. As Gould now has, let's see, I don't think he is rejoined. I think he's checked out of the session. I would suspect after that incredibly hard hit of the wall coming out of turn 1.
No, Bradford Gould's got up and running again. He's picks himself up, dusts himself down, and he's back out on track. He's well down though, but it's battles up and down the field. This is the battle we're seeing right now for 15th. Greenfield, Calamari, and Borodati.
And remember, and I think Camilleri started towards the rear end of the field as well, did not put in a qualifying time.
Yeah, that's correct, Greg. I mean, respectively, they're up 11, 7, and 10 places. Yeah, largely, they picked their way through the melee and mayhem that we saw.
Oh, and speaking of mayhem, it is both Jamison Huffman and Murphy Nichols taking identical lines through the grass, coming through turn number 1. And now Caleb Patry's going to run wide coming out of turn 3. Might have just kept it on the exit curbing there, but ends up losing position to Giancarlo Schooler. So move him now up into 2nd. And Tim, we're only 5 minutes, 6 minutes into this 20-minute race.
Well,
oh my gosh!
I don't know if I can take this anymore, Greg.
No.
I mean, we've still got 3/4 of the race to go, and with what's happened so far, it's normally the 18-9. He's held it.
There you go. And Huffman, certainly not the best lap there for Jamison Huffman as he went off at turn 5. Murphy Nichols giving him a little love tap up the hill. And then Nagase Yoshikawa, the 3rd car in line in the black and purple machine, as that trio has now fallen back just a little bit from our lead 4 cars, the 3 Delta Sport cars of Burkhardt, Schooler, and Patry, and then the Team Watson Racing machine Beans Forster. As we jump a little bit further back in the field, this is the battle for 12th as Jeremy Shepard sneaks by for the moment as they're coming into the carousel. He'd gotten by Justin Huffman going into the carousel, but Huffman with the inside position going in, and we'll see if that car pushes out a little bit on exit and loses the grass. Indeed. Yeah, we saw as Huffman took a very tight entry. Oh, and now he's off behind the tire wall. Where do you go from here? And we'll see if Huffman can get that car out. That's a lot of damage. But, you know, Tim, we saw it as they came out of turn 8. And I was just about to say we'd have to see whether or not Huffman could keep that car on track, because he entered the carousel very tight, very much to the inside, which was going to push him wide on exit. And that's exactly what happened. And we saw there that, whoa. And and I believe, I think that was Wozencroft right by him as he gave that little wiggle. And Wozencroft just avoided catastrophe as well.
Do you know, as you go through things on the pace lap, Greg, I was thinking to myself, how many of these drivers know what the action's like in the Ray Esports League and with the Mazdas? How many of these drivers are going to finish with their wing mirrors? Well, so far, there's as we see here, they've all got their wing mirrors, but many of them have, trying to invent a rallycross circuit around, mow the lawns for the groundskeeper here in Road America.
Well, Josh Justice was just showing them the way at the end of qualifying.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely, but this battle up front, I get the feeling this is not going to go away whatsoever between Burkhardt, Schooler and Patry. And don't discredit Forster. He'll be right in there. Jameson Huffman, if there's a whiff of a bit of a chance, he'll be there to take it and capitalise it. But he's bringing along something for the run. Murphy Nichols and Nagishi Yoshikawa as well. We could see a 7-way battle for the lead, especially if these lots up front start to get into one another, Greg. That's going to slow them up. We saw that earlier, especially in the Jettas, where what was a 2-way fight for the lead, then became a 4-way fight, then became a 6-way fight, where they were just tripping up over one another, backing themselves up into the cars behind.
Although as Burkhardt almost gets the car loose as he puts the front wheels into the grass coming around the last bend before Canada Corner. But I get the feeling these 4 drivers, they seem to work much better when they're in close proximity with the MX-5s than they did with the Jettas. And of course, Patry was in the running in the GR86 machine earlier, but all the other drivers here were in the Jettas. And I think a lot of that is the Jettas, they can take some pushing around every once in a while. I think you still have to be a little more cognizant of where the other MX-5s are, because you can get set off, much like we see Josh Justice now, and I believe that's Gould over by Justice, and it has not been a wonderful evening for Bradford Gould. Let's take a look as they are now coming under braking into turn 5.
Oh. Wow.
Yeah, and there's nothing Gould could have done there.
Well, he was alongside. He pretty much got the move done. They got a bit worried, backed out of it, and elected to tuck back in again behind Justice. And if he carried on and just got being confident on the brakes, maybe where he's feeling a bit bruised and battered, he would have been done, and that wouldn't have happened. And he still would have had, a more intact front end as well. And drifting around there.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know if he's demonstrated enough times, but Jameson Huffman has a very loose car tonight. We saw him run wide, lose the rear end coming through 1. We saw him just now coming through 5. He did it earlier also coming through turn 3. And you can see even there coming through turn 8, Tim, when he goes to take a set, the car rotates very quickly, probably a little bit more than I would expect. I'd love to. Oh, and there's another one as Yoshikawa has the back end step out, and he's still drifting it around. And he's going to end up behind the same tire wall as Jameson's dad did.
Well,
Oh
I
my
mean, he
God.
held on to that one.
How? I don't know.
No, I'm not too sure either. For me, that would have been instant death, and I would
Yes.
have purchased a one-way ticket to one of the barriers, either on
I
the
think
inside or the
I
outside.
think all of us. All right, let's take a look at this this drift demonstration put on by Nagase Yoshikawa coming through the carousel. Just as I had finished talking about how loose Jameson Huffman's car was, here we go.
Oh, front right onto the grass, and that's what started it off, Greg. You can see everyone juggling the steering there.
He did a great job gathering it back up. I didn't expect him to go off driver's left, but you can see there just enough opposite lock to keep the car fairly straight and good rejoin and keeps the motor running. And you know, the fact that he only lost one position surprises me, but we can see Lewis Lockshine's into that battle now as we are now 2 by 2. It's Burkhardt, it's Patry in the front, and then we've got Giancarlo Schooler. And, well, maybe there was a tap there between Burkhardt and Schooler as they come out of one, go down the hill into turn number 3. The 111 car to the inside. He's going to get pinched just a little bit. Well, he manages to open it up now. Burkhardt gets shuffled back into 3rd position, and probably the driver with the most exit speed through that corner is Beans Forster, is sitting for the moment in 4th in the 231 machine. But is Burkhardt going to try and take a lunge all the way down the inside? Well, he's got Schooler there right in front of him.
The trouble is, as much as you're on the inside, unless you get the move done here, Greg, you're going to be on the inside for the next corner, but then it forces you to the outside for the next couple of corners, and that's where all the speed and momentum comes. So you can defend this. It's what Caleb Patry is exactly doing. They're still side by side. There is nothing in it between Schooler and Patry. And it's just going to come down to, I think, one mistake
He
from
let
these
the car
guys.
track out and just didn't give anywhere for a Schooler to go coming out of high-speed turn 7.
It's all going to come down to one mistake from someone here, and that's what's going to decide how these guys finish, because there's really nothing between them whatsoever. You've got around about half a second separating 1st through to 4th.
And
I would say it's nothing, but it's half a second.
I was just gonna say it's a half a second as Schooler almost drops a wheel coming through the kink. Oh, Burkhardt comes down the inside. Schooler tries to defend against it, realizes he's too late, and now as they come down under braking hard into Canada corner, Burkhardt, the driver's right. Schooler's gonna try and follow him through and pinch the 198 machine to the outside. If Burkhardt can just hold station here through Bill Mitchell Bend, he'll have position going into the final corner, but it's going to ruin their exit speed here, Tim, and this is where Beans Forster might have a big advantage.
Hoffman is 2.8 seconds behind with Murphy Nichols in tow. If they're clever about this, they'll work together and try and close that up. It's a tall order. Well, that's how close those two are. If you wanted any proof that they're pushing and they're squeezing one another to try and close up this gap, while the front 4 just trip up over one another constantly. You can see the timing tower on the left-hand side, and the driver's name just constantly like keep changing around where they're. You can throw the perennial blanket over them. They are that close between the lot of them. There you go. Half a second, Greg. From the start finish straight to the exit 3.
Yeah, just from 14 all the way down through turn 3. And so with now less than 4 minutes remaining, I mean, this is when Murphy Nichols and Jameson Huffman have to put any kind of thoughts of battling aside and just try to work up to this lead pack of 4 as Giancarlo Schooler for the first time tonight takes over the lead, but can he hold it as he got very loose coming out of turn number 5, and Patry's going to pounce. He's going to take advantage. Patry is quickly, as he lost the lead, he moves back to the lead, and now Burkhardt is going to go right around the outside of the 111 car as they come down the hurry downs into turn number 8. And we saw this earlier. This is where Burkhardt gets the move done before they come into 8, because I'm sure that Schooler wouldn't want to push the car all the way down to the inside, much like Beans Forster is right now, because it's going to force that car right on out on exit.
But this is hurting them all. Look, because Patchy's already, he's opened up 0.8 of a second, and Huffman is down to 2.1 seconds. The gap between himself and these guys.
As he came through the carousel, stayed almost center of track, even past the apex, as if he was still expecting either Forster or Schooler to come underneath him. And there you go, as Forster now takes over 3rd position from Giancarlo Schooler as they got past the kink. But yeah, look at what this has done to Caleb Patry. It's given him about a 2.5 car length lead. And we've got that the second little wave there. Jamison Huffman and Murphy Nichols, they are definitely closing things down. They're almost a second faster.
That's Josh Jota up 15 places. And he's still got a chance to make it, what, 16, 17 potentially? Antonio Rossi currently leading this 4-car gaggle that we have right now in the battle for 7th.
All right, let's jump back to the lead now as we have only 2 minutes remaining. And did we get the checkered flag? I'd assume we have the checkered flag, or not, probably not the checkered flag, but the white flag in the air. And there it is, last lap underway here at Road America. And Burkhardt is caught back up to the back of the 198 machine. And Forster runs wide through turn number 1, as does Jamison Huffman with that super loose car. And now Murphy Nichols, he's going to have to work all by himself to get up to our lead pack, unless he's going to slow down at this point and let Jamison Huffman get back to his rear bumper. But it is now a 3-car battle for the win as Giancarlo Schooler moves to the inside as Patry goes to defend. Burkhardt, he's trapped to the outside, and so he's going to have multiple corners where he is now stuck out driver's right as Patry runs wide. Burkhardt runs wider. Schooler, can he get up to the back of Patry or even back to the back of Burkhardt and sneak underneath? Coming into turn number 6, Burkhardt goes wide. Burkhardt loses the car coming out of turn 6, Tim.
And all of that happened, Huffman's had another issue because look, Murphy Nichols has got past him and he's up into 4th. It's all happening, Greg. It's all happening.
One lap. And now look at this as Beans Forster runs. Oh no, that's Forster doing okay. We had another car off in the grass coming out of turn number 8. And that might have been Burkhardt trying to get the car back under him, and he's got Josh Soto right behind him. But now, as they come up to the kink, it's Patry, it's Giancarlo Schooler. It looks like the GR86 race just a few moments ago. Beans Forster running in 3rd, and Murphy Nichols, he is now about 2.5 seconds back, just off the podium in 4th place. As our drivers now have only 3 corners remaining.
3 corners to decide it. Who's going to come out on top? Patry or Schooler? Well, it's going to take a lot from Giancarlo Schooler because Patry's going to have the line. He's not going to be able to mount defense. It's all going to be able to run to the line, Greg. Has Schooler got it timed? What exit has Patry got? Let's find out.
You take a run, you close the gap down, you get the draft, and wisely Patry trying to break the draft. He moves to the inside. Did he do it early enough as Giancarlo Schooler comes down driver's left? And as they cross the line, Giancarlo Schooler takes the win by 0.02 of a second, by 9 thousandths of a, by 15 thousandths of a second. I can't do math, Tim. Coming home in 3rd is going to be Beans Forster, a second back, and then Murphy Nichols, who I think just started doing his donuts at turn 1. Murphy Nichols finishes just off the podium. But let's take a look as they came out of turn 14 and up the Road America straight.
Timed it to perfection, did Schooler. And Patry knew he was in trouble. That's why he was weaving all over the track, desperately trying to break the drag to keep Schooler just guessing. It wasn't enough. It wasn't enough.
And there we go. Exacting revenge on the cooldown lap at turn 5. There you go. Get that extra little hit in. All right, so Giancarlo Schooler takes the win. Beans Forster finishes 2nd. Murphy Nichols finishes Beans Forster third, Murphy Nichols fourth, Jamison Huffman, loose car and all, manages to gather it back up, finish in fifth, ahead of Morgan Burkhardt, who falls back to sixth. Josh Soto started 21st and finishes, probably not 21st. He finished, oh gosh, I can't do math all of a sudden. 24th and finishes 7th. And then we've got Nagase Yoshikawa, Lewis Lockshine, and Antonio Rice rounding out the top 10. All right, let's do this. I'm tempted, Tim, and you tell me. We've got a lot of people here, and it's almost, it's the middle of the night for you.
Don't worry about that.
Should we bring in Morgan Burkhardt since he had so much to say after the first race?
I think so.
It might be great entertainment here on the YouTubes. Let's talk first to Morgan Burkhardt, who finishes sixth tonight in MX5s, but he probably still has a lot to say about the Jetta race. Morgan Burkhardt, take it away.
Morgan. Wow. I mean, the Jettas, they're basically touring cars. And you took that touring car spirit and transferred that across into the MX5s. You were banging doors, you were pushing, you were shoving. It was almost a bit of a slugfest out there. Just put us inside the car. Was it all just incredibly great fun? Or was it a bit angst?
Oh, it was all an absolute hoot. I think out of the top 7 finishers, I think all of us were talking to each other during the race, or at least the top 7. Like after lap 3 or 4, we were all talking to each other, and then about halfway through, just like, I don't want to just like stay in line anymore. We'll just throw the gloves off and have some fun, and that's exactly what we did. It was an absolute blast. I'm still smiling ear to ear.
Oh, I mean, that's great to hear. Seeing as though, sixth, you've got to be a bit disappointed by that one. I mean, but even so, I mean, you've walked away with 1 victory at least, could have been 2. I mean, did you think there was a chance? I mean, of the victory here today? I mean, yourself, Giancarlo, and Caleb were all over each other. Beans was, poking his nose in where probably he didn't quite want it at times. Do you think there was a chance of the victory here in the Spec Miatas? Or do you think, well, this is just going to go anyway and it's going to be what it is?
Yeah, I definitely think I could have, had I not. I mean, I got dirt on the tires coming out of turn 5, went up the hill and went into 6, and I tried to leave JC some space and kind of understeered a little bit off, dropped the wheel, and then it was just gone. But I've had that not have happened, I think I could have given Caleb a run for his money into Canada Corner. So I'm still happy with 6th. I mean, I had an absolute blast.
Well, that's the main thing. Right, Morgan, we'll let you go and, well, if you're old enough, go and have a beer and go and try and cool down after that one. And
if he has a beer, there are going to be some police officers.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
Out in Charlestown tonight.
Apple cider, I think you guys call it.
That would be more his speed tonight. Yes.
Yes. It's non-alcoholic over there. There we go. That's Morgan Burkhardt, who finished 6th here today in the Spec Miatas, but obviously picked up the victory in the video Jettas in the previous race.
I'll go grab
All right, there you go. Tell you what, now let's bring in. We talked to Giancarlo after the first race.
We did.
We talked to Beans after the first race. Why don't we bring in our winner, or probably not our winner, but our 2nd place finisher in the MX5s? Let's bring in the Caleb Patry. Depending on how that goes, maybe we'll talk to Giancarlo Score.
Oh, exactly. Caleb, wow. You said after, in the green room to Greg, after the first race in the Toyotas, didn't really want to talk to us because it was a boring race. Well,
not exactly that.
Well, it's been a quiet event for yourself when, we speak about you at the very start of the race and then don't feature you at all until you're about to cross the line and take the victory. Congratulations on that, by the way. Completely contrasting race for race 2 in the Spec Miatas. I mean, we just talked to Morgan. He was saying it was an absolute hoot, really good fun. I mean, you've got to be. I mean, how much you gutted, or are you in awe a bit of how Giancarlo just pipped you at the line there by 1500ths of a second?
I mean, I was a little disappointed because there was a point in that lap where I thought I had it, and then I guess it didn't get as good of a run out of, I think, turn 8. So lost a little bit of time there, but no, it was very, very clean, fun race between all four of us, and that's kind of how I expected it to end. You know, somebody waiting till the very last minute and drafting by you at the stripe.
Yeah, I mean, we saw how you were weaving and wiggling desperately, using all you could to try and break it. I mean, walking away from here though, a first and a second, realistically, if you said you're coming into this meeting, you were going to get that, you couldn't really ask for much more, could you? Or were you hoping for the double victory?
I mean, honestly, the way that race went, I really couldn't ask for more. Obviously, the double victory would have been nice, but I mean, getting pipped at the line by, under a tenth of a second isn't a bad way to lose.
Definitely not. Well, congratulations on the previous victory and the second, ultimately. That's Caleb Patry.
Thanks, guys.
All right, there you go. Caleb Patry coming home second in the MX-5s. Let's do this. Why don't we bring over Giancarlo Schooler? But as I bring him in to the commentary booth, I've already received kudos from John Burkhardt, that's Morgan's father, for looking out for his teenage son. All right.
These young whippersnappers, I know, that put us all to shame in terms of their racecraft and ability.
Yes.
But Giancarlo, well, you timed that one to perfection, didn't you, at the final corner? Did you think did you think you'd maybe lost it, hadn't quite got it right, or did you have that bit of feeling within you coming out of the final corner that you were gonna get the victory?
Yeah, it was definitely a 50-50 shot there. Really, I couldn't be more unsure about it. What I was most nervous about is I had 11X going through the last corner, so I knew if Caleb ran me off the road, that was it. So I made sure not to tell him that. So luckily he raced it clean all the way to the line. But yeah, even down to the final seconds, I still had no idea if I was going to get it or not.
Well, we're running a bit of overtime here, so you can have the last 3 words to describe the action here today in the final race.
Man, fun, intense, and brave.
There we go. We won't include the ums and the ahs into that set of 3, but I think that's a brilliant way to distinguish. Congratulations, your winner here today in Spec Miates, Giancarlo Schooler.
Thanks, guys.
All right, thanks so much, Giancarlo Schooler. Fun, what was it? Fun, exciting, and
yeah, even down in the final seconds. Well, we're running a bit of overtime here, so you can have the last 3 words to describe the action here today in the final.
Jonathan, they moved me instead of you. Yeah.
That's a brilliant way to distinguish Spec Miates, Giancarlo.
all right, thanks so much, Giancarlo Schooler. Fun, was it fun?
Even a memo. It'll be wild, it'll be Larry, it'll be action-packed, it'll be drama from green through to checkered.
Indeed it will. All right, so for Tim Cox, and we're going to see Tim again with us here in just a few weeks. For Tim Cox and, of course, Jonathan Grabowski giving us all the great views and action and replays and everything else, I'm Greg Ginsburg. We'll see you next Tuesday night. If you haven't bought your flowers yet, it's probably a little bit too late. Wish your loved one a happy Valentine's Day, and we'll see you next week.